Before you search for cure, ask yourself this. Why has your body begun to whisper in fatigue, cry out in pain, and collapse in weakness? The answer is not in the pills you take, not in the beds you rest in, and not even in the food you eat. Because what you feel in your body is often a reflection of what is missing in your life. A tension you ignored, a breath you never took, a truth you refused to face. You see, the body does not lie, it speaks, and when you don't listen, it begins to scream. So today, I will not offer you surface solutions. I invite you to go deeper, deeper into yourself, to discover the real reason behind your suffering. Not everyone will stay, but those who do will leave with a new understanding of what health truly means. Are you ready to stop surviving and start living with awareness? Most people today believe they are simply tired from working too much. They look at their calendars, at their responsibilities, at the demands of family and career, and they say, of course I'm tired. Who wouldn't be? But this is only part of the story. What they don't realize is that the tiredness they feel is not always from doing too much. Sometimes it is from doing too little of what truly nourishes them. Sometimes the exhaustion is not physical at all. It is energetic. And if you never learn to recognize this difference, you will chase solutions that only push you further away from the truth. The body is not a machine. It is a living reflection of the way you move, the way you breathe, and the way you think. It holds on to every stress you ignore, every emotion you suppress, and every decision you postpone. And over time, these invisible weights become heavy. You begin to notice it first in your mornings. You wake up tired, even after hours of sleep. Then it shows up in your steps, a lack of strength, a dull ache in your joints, a strange resistance inside your muscles. You tell yourself you're just getting older, but deep down, you know something doesn't add up. This is your body speaking to you. But are you listening? The truth is, many people live disconnected from themselves. They spend their energy outward, serving others, working for goals, running after time, but they rarely pause to check where their own inner balance stands. Their life force, their chi, is not flowing freely. And when that life energy is blocked, it does not matter how much rest you get or how healthy your food is. You will still feel heavy, still feel drained, still feel empty, because the root is not being touched. Some people try to solve this with more activity, more workouts, more supplements, more external stimulation. But when the body is asking for stillness, this only creates more noise. When the soul is asking for alignment, doing more of the wrong thing only widens the gap. And slowly, this gap begins to manifest physically in the shoulders that never relax, in the back that always hurts, in the headaches that return without warning. These are not random. They are signals. They are the whispers before the scream. If you truly want to understand your fatigue, your pain, your weakness, you must begin with awareness. Sit with yourself in silence. Feel where your breath stops. Notice where your body tightens. Observe the moments in your day where you feel drained and ask yourself, what did I give my energy to? Did it return anything back to me? Most people are not tired because they have done too much. They are tired because they are leaking energy constantly into things that do not matter. Into distractions, into worry, into unresolved emotion. Once you start to see this, something shifts. You stop blaming your age. You stop blaming your job. And you start taking responsibility for your inner environment. You begin to protect your energy. You begin to move slower, but with more presence. You begin to breathe not just for oxygen, but for clarity. And with this, your body responds uttered. The fatigue begins to soften. The pain loses its grip. The weakness transforms into stillness. Because now, the energy is flowing again. You are not just a body made of muscles and bones. You are an ecosystem of thoughts, emotions, and energy. When something is off, the body will always let you know. Mana, Sako. But most people wait until the body breaks down before they listen. What if you listened earlier? What if you moved through life not just with effort, but with understanding? This is not about perfection. This is about presence. Begin to trust the signals. Begin to listen to your body, not just when it's in crisis, but when it whispers. The moment you begin to reconnect with your own inner rhythm, you will realize that your fatigue was never about being too busy. It was about being too far from yourself. And when you return, energy returns with you. When we think of strength, we often imagine muscles, power, the ability to carry weight or endure pressure. And when we think of weakness, we assume it must be something physical, something we can see or touch. But the truth is, real strength and real weakness are born in places we rarely look. You can eat well, move your body daily, even get 8 hours of sleep, and still feel broken inside. You can lift heavy things but struggle to lift your own thoughts. You can push through your day but collapse in silence when no one is watching. This is the unseen weight that many people carry, the burden of hidden stress. You wake up in the morning and already feel tired, not because your body hasn't rested, but because your mind never stopped running. You carry thoughts that do not belong to you, expectations you never agreed to, and pressure that was never yours to hold. You smile through discomfort. You stay silent when your heart wants to speak. You keep going, not because you're strong, but because you're afraid of what will happen if you stop. And slowly, without noticing, you begin to live in survival mode, constantly alert, constantly bracing, constantly pretending. This silent war within you creates tension, not just emotional, but physical. Your muscles tighten, your breath becomes shallow, and your nervous system prepares for battle, even when there's no visible enemy. And over time, this inner state becomes your normal. You forget what it feels like to be truly relaxed, to breathe without effort, to sit without restlessness. And eventually, the body begins to reflect this inner chaos. You feel pain in your back, your joints, your chest, your digestion changes, your sleep becomes light and disturbed. And yet, most people never trace this back to the root. They treat the pain but ignore the pressure. They medicate the symptoms but avoid the silence. Stress is not always loud. Sometimes it wears the mask of responsibility, of ambition, of being a good parent, a good worker, a good friend, But if you're giving yourself to everyone and everything without return, that's not love, that's depletion, and it leaves a mark. It weakens your foundation from the inside, slowly, invisibly, until one day something small breaks you and you wonder why. But the truth is, it wasn't the final straw that did it. It was the years of carrying too much without release. The body remembers everything, every emotion unspoken, every moment you held your breath, every time you said, "I'm fine," when you were not. These memories don't vanish. They stay inside your muscles, your fascia, your organs. They live there until one day they show themselves as fatigue or pain or sudden illness. This is not punishment. It is intelligence. Your body is wise. It will always protect you. It will always protect you. But when the burden becomes too heavy, it has no choice but to slow you down, to force you to feel. The real question is not, why am I tired? The real question is, where did I lose my strength? You did not lose it overnight. You lost it in small moments. When you didn't speak your truth, when you ignored your limits, when you pushed past your own boundaries to meet someone else's. Each time, you gave away a small piece of your energy, and over time, these small leaks became an ocean of loss. This is what weakens you, not the aging process, not bad luck, not just external stress. It is the slow erosion of your center through constant self-neglect. But it is not too late, because just as energy can be lost, it can also be reclaimed, and it starts with awareness. Begin by noticing what drains you, who drains you, what thoughts create tension in your body, what situations force you to shrink. Notice it, not with judgment but with curiosity. And when you notice, begin to change. Not all at once, just a little. Speak a little more truth. Rest a little more deeply. Say no when you mean no. Say yes only when your heart agrees. You are not here to survive your life. You are here to live it fully. But that can only happen when you reclaim your energy, your strength, your voice. When you stop holding on to stress like it's your identity. When you allow yourself to feel without fear, to rest without guilt, to let go without explanation. The pain you feel is real. The weakness is real. But it is not permanent. It is a message, a call to return to your center. A call to remember that real strength is not about how much you carry, but how wisely you choose what to hold. And once you begin to listen, the healing has already begun. Many people believe that movement alone is the answer, that as long as they exercise, stretch, or stay physically active, they will be healthy and strong. But movement without awareness is like walking in a storm with your eyes closed. You may be moving, but you're not seeing, you're not feeling. You cannot feel, and what you cannot feel, you cannot change. This is why, despite daily routines, gym sessions, or long walks, people still feel tired. They still feel pain. Their legs remain heavy. Their backs stay stiff, and their minds feel even more restless after the movement. Not because the movement is wrong, but because the intention behind it is missing. The body is not the machine that responds only to repetition. It is a living expression of your inner world. If you move with tension, you train the tension. If you move with force, you deepen the habit of resistance. But if you move with awareness, even the smallest motion becomes medicine. It is not the movement that heals. It is the presence you bring into it. Most people walk without walking. Their feet are on the ground, but their minds are somewhere else. They stretch, but their breath is not involved. They lift weight, but carry no inner stillness. They sweat, but they do not release. In this way, movement becomes another distraction, another way to escape, another place to hide from silence. But movement, in its true form, is sacred. It is not about pushing the body. It is about meeting it, listening to it, allowing it to unfold with grace. The moment you move with awareness, your breath becomes your teacher, your steps become your reflection, your posture reveals your truth, and suddenly the body no longer feels like a burden to fix, it becomes a space to return to. In traditional practice, one slow breath with full attention can restore more balance than 100 rushed exercises. When you work with your breath, you feel the ground beneath you, you feel the spine lengthen, the shoulders drop, the mind quiet. When you stretch with intention, you are not just loosening the muscles. You are dissolving old emotions stored in the tissues. When you sit in stillness after a movement, you are not wasting time. You are allowing the energy to settle and find its path again. But this kind of movement cannot be rushed. It cannot be copied from someone else. It must be discovered from within. And to do this, you must slow down. You must feel every step. You must watch the breath as it enters and exits. You must sense where the tension lifts and how the body reacts to even the smallest change. This is not weakness. This is mastery. The world teaches speed, but healing requires slowness. Strength requires stillness. Strength requires stillness. Awareness requires patience. There is a deep intelligence inside your body. Every movement it makes is a response to something, a memory, a thought, an emotion, an old injury, a belief. When you ignore this, you end up fighting your own body. You move with force instead of harmony, and the result is imbalance, joint pain, chronic fatigue, sudden injuries, not because you moved too much, but because you moved without knowing why or how. It is not about doing more. It is about doing less, but with presence. A single conscious breath taken while standing still can release years of held tension. A gentle twist done with awareness can unlock forgotten energy. A mindful step can remind you that you are alive and that you are safe. This is the kind of movement that restores rather than depletes. So ask yourself, when you move, are you truly there? Is your mind present? Is your breath involved? Are your senses awake? If not, then it's not really movement. It's just habit. And habit without awareness becomes disconnection. The same disconnection that leads to fatigue, pain, and weakness. The body does not need to be punished into strength. It needs to be guided back into balance. You do not need to conquer it. You need to cooperate with it. And that cooperation begins the moment you bring attention to every motion, no matter how small. Let every step become a meditation. Let every stretch become a question. What does my body need right now? Let every pause be a moment of gratitude. That you still have a body to move. That it still carries you despite everything. In this way, movement becomes not just something you do, but something you are. A reflection of how you live, how you think, and how you feel. When your movements are mindful, your life becomes mindful. When your movements are balanced, your thoughts become balanced. And when your movements are rooted in stillness, your strength returns, not just in the body, but in every part of you. This is where real transformation begins. Many people believe that if they eat the right foods, their energy will return. That if they just find the perfect diet, take the right supplements, avoid sugar, count calories, and follow all the instructions, they will feel better. But food alone does not determine your energy. You can eat the healthiest meal, filled with nutrients and vitamins, but if you eat it in a state of stress, it becomes poison. You can drink all the green juices in the world, but if your thoughts are bitter, they will cancel out everything. Because nourishment does not come only from what you eat. It comes from how you eat, and more deeply from the intention behind every bite, every breath, every moment of your day. Most people consume food like they consume information, quickly, mindlessly, without connection. They eat while watching screens, while rushing through work, while worrying about tomorrow, and they wonder why they still feel tired afterward, why they still feel empty, bloated, or restless. The body is not just absorbing nutrients, it is absorbing your state of being. If your mind is tense, your digestion will be tense. If your heart is closed, your gut will react. If your breath is shallow, your body will not trust the process of healing. Energy does not come from food alone. It comes from awareness, from presence, from gratitude, from gratitude. Even the simplest meal can become powerful fuel if taken with mindfulness. A cup of tea, sipped in silence, can restore more than a plate of superfoods eaten in stress. Because real nourishment includes more than minerals. It includes your breath, your posture, your focus, the space you create around the meal, and the silence within which the body can receive. Food is important, but your relationship with food is even more important. When you treat eating as a sacred act, not a chore, not a race, you begin to shift the energy behind the process. The body feels this. It knows when it is being honored, and it responds by digesting better, absorbing more, and holding less tension. But most people have forgotten how to eat. Not what to eat, but how. They eat out of habit, out of emotion, out of distraction. And this pattern becomes a cycle of fatigue. Not because of the food, but because the life behind the food is missing. In the same way, energy is not just physical. It is emotional, mental, and spiritual. You may think your weakness is because of poor nutrition, but ask yourself, what thoughts are you feeding yourself every day? What emotions are you holding on to while eating? Are you chewing your food, or are you chewing your worries? Are you feeding your body with love, or are you feeding it with fear? These questions matter because the body listens to everything, even what you don't say. You can eat a clean diet, but if your life is filled with conflict, if you never allow yourself to rest, if you speak harshly to yourself and others, your energy will still drain. This is why people who follow strict diets often feel no different, because healing doesn't happen in the stomach alone. It happens in the way you carry yourself throughout the day. It happens in your breath, your pace, your thoughts. The energy you put into your food begins with the energy you carry within you. So ask yourself, how are you nourishing your life, not just your body but your spirit? Are you feeding your soul with beauty, with nature, with silence, with connection? Or are you just going through the motions, waiting for food to fix what lifestyle is breaking? Healing begins when you see that nourishment is everywhere. It is in the way you wake up in the morning. It is in the way you speak to your loved ones. It is in the way you take your first breath before a meal. Every small moment is a chance to give energy to your life or to drain it. The food you eat is only a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. If you treat yourself with care, your body will feel cared for. If you treat yourself with impatience, your body will feel rushed. The way you live is the way you digest. So change your relationship with food. But more than that, change your relationship with presence. Slow down. Taste what you eat. Feel how your body reacts. Sit in stillness before the first bite. Give thanks, not as a formality, but as a recognition of life's support. This awareness transforms a meal into medicine, not because the food changed, but because you did. When the mind becomes calm, the breath deepens. When the breath deepens, the body begins to trust. And in that trust, healing happens. Energy returns, not just from the food you eat, but from the way you receive it. From the way you honor your life. That is the nourishment most people are missing.